So the city of Chicago is not unique in this, but like the rest of the country, is experiencing a housing crisis. Rental prices are going up. The price of houses themselves, mortgage rates, interest rates are increasing exponentially. And even looking back over the past 5 years, you can see that rental prices have gone up while wages have stayed the same. So there is a need for affordable housing right now because people aren't making enough money to keep up with rising rental prices. So, as we saw in lecture on Tuesday, November 21st, when we had the guest speaker Angela Herlock come in, she talked about what she was doing with her organization, Claretian Associates, on the South Side in South Chicago, where they took over the YMCA and they helped to make senior affordable housing. She also talked about how they built around 200 units of housing in South Chicago. But what was interesting to me was that she needed to figure out a way to how to essentially lift people out of poverty, lift people out of Section 8 housing, because as she said, to quote her, aldermen complain about how there's too many Section 8 housing vouchers, but they never complain about having too many homeowners. So her plan is to help lift people out of this systemic issue of stigmatization of affordable housing, with Section 8. So get people through Section 8, through CHA and everything like that, and then get them to a place where they can own their own home one day. So that is one way that the solution to expensive housing can be solved. Another solution to, cracking down on expensive housing, on affordable housing, is to, remove the regulatory barriers at the local, state, and federal level to allow more homes and apartments to be built, and that will reduce the cost and reduce the time of building these buildings. As mentioned in the Stanford Social Innovation Review article that we read, I believe it was in week, I should have figured this out beforehand, I'm sorry, week 7, where when you have an abundance of supply, this is just basic economics, where you have an abundance of supply, demand will increase, and when you have a large supply, then you can decrease prices. Everything will come back down. So what we see here in the city of Chicago a lot is single family homes still being built, and the refusal to build multifamily homes, 200 plus unit apartment buildings. Like on the north side, a lot of NIMBYs complain all the time about there being, these new 200 unit apartment buildings being built in their neighborhood, that they don't want them, that it's going to ruin the character of the neighborhood, that it's going to bring crime and all this stuff. But that's simply not true. So if we can somehow get past this stigmatization of regulatory policies for housing affordability, and redoing how the city and how governments do planning and zoning, then that creates the opportunity to essentially make more housing. And the city of San Francisco announced that they would be building 800 units of affordable housing every year. This was back in 2021. But this year, 2023, last I checked, they only built 8 units of affordable housing this year. So cities really need to rethink how they zone themselves, how they classify zoning and planning, where more highly dense buildings for people to live in need to be available and thought of as a necessity, not a burden. So as the article continues to state, increasing productivity, lowering costs, redoing how we zone for residential spaces needs to happen. The city of Chicago really needs to rethink how they zone neighborhoods, who gets building contracts, what residential areas get built, because multifamily homes essentially they provide, um, for a neighborhood. They can provide affordable housing because if you can fit more people into a neighborhood, you can decrease the cost of how much you would have to pay. So a single family home, drives up property values. But if you have multifamily homes, yeah, property values still stay high, but your rent itself can remain somewhat affordable, somewhat reasonable. So as long as there is enough supply, prices should remain low. So that's what we need to do. We need to increase supply. We need to rethink how we zone neighborhoods and zone spaces for residential use. We also just really need to stop stigmatizing affordable housing. Thank you.